Hi everyone, welcome to our second week of online learning. This is a video for the dividing monomials note sheet. We are going to introduce the quotient rule this week, and just so you are aware, this week would technically have been our Easter holiday, so we will be assigning work from Monday through Wednesday this week, but you will not have any new assignments Thursday, Friday, or the following Monday due to the Easter holiday. If you have not completed work up to this point, please reach out and ask questions. I am available via email, and I can set up even a private Zoom or Google Meet session if you're having trouble with something. So please reach out on Google Classroom or via email, and do not hesitate to ask. So in terms of the quotient rule, you have two things to remember. Again, the operation with the coefficients is as it seems. In this case, it says you will be dividing the coefficients, and we are going to use this new rule, which is the quotient rule, to simplify the exponents. Okay, now the word quotient, for those of you that may or may not remember, you are going to be using division. So with division, you have a fraction, something like a to the m power divided by a to the n. And you are going to take and subtract those exponents. So last week I touched on the product rule. When you multiply, you add. Division is the exact opposite. So we will subtract the exponents. Now, the reason that is, if you look at number 1, and I have 5 x's, they tell us on the top, x to the 5th. And on the bottom, they tell us x to the 3rd, which means I have 3 x values. If you were going to cancel the pairs of x's that you have on the top and the bottom, you will notice that you have 2 x values left over. If I was to subtract 5 and 3, 5 minus 3 will give me 2. That's where I'm getting that number from. So if I come over to number 2 and I do 8 minus 3, that would be k to the 5th power. So you do not have to write out everything like I did there in number 1. That was just to show you where they're getting the concept of the quotient rule. Okay, in number 3, 3 minus 3, you should have m to the 0 power. And anything raised to the 0 power, it's something that we'll touch on a little bit more as we go, but this actually will equal 1. In number 4, you have 6 minus 2, that would be a to the 4th, and 4 minus 3 would give you b to the 1st. You can write a number 1 there, but typically that is not shown. You just leave the letter all alone without the 1 written. Now in number 5, we add in coefficients. So those numbers, 6 and 2, you will actually divide. 6 divided by 2 will give you 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. So you will have 3x for number 5. Number 6, 14 divided by 7 is 2. And then 2 minus, remember there are 1's here, so 2 minus 1 would equal 1, x and 1, y. Continuing with these division examples, negative 36 divided by 4 is negative 9. You'll notice 2 minus 2 is 0, so the a's will go away, and 5 minus 3 is b to the 2nd power. In number 8, negative 15 divided by negative 3 is a positive 5. Subtract 6 minus 5, which is 1. 5 minus 3, which is 2. And z will remain in the answer. For number 9, 4 divided by 8. 4/8 is a fraction. It reduces to 1/2. And then 5 minus 1 would equal n to the 4th. Number 10, 36 divided by 54. They are both divisible by 9. And then I think even higher, they could also be divided by 16. So that would give you a 2/3 for the fraction. And then you would subtract the exponents. So you will have 9 minus 3, which is 6, and 5 minus 2, which is 3. So when you write your final answer here, you should have 2/3 x to the 6th, y to the 3rd. Okay, so that is the basics of the quotient rule. Now, the bottom of this paper, along with the second file that is in your notes, talk about putting it all together, meaning the 3 rules we have learned up to this point: the power rule, the product rule, and the quotient rule. So I am just going to go over a few of these here. If you notice on a lot of these handouts, they gradually get a little more difficult as they go. So I've tried just to stick to the basics in this lesson, and I've eliminated reviewing some of those more complicated questions. If we were in school face-to-face, I would go over those questions with you, but for this scenario, I think it's a little easier if we just stick to the basics. So in number 11, the numerator, the top of the fraction, it is a power to a power. So I am going to take and simplify the top first. 3 to the 2nd power is 9. And here I actually multiply 5 and 2. I would get 10. So from here, I keep the denominator, and now I can reduce. 9 and 27 are divisible by 9. So 9 divided by 9 is 1. 27 divided by 9 is 3, and as I divide, I then have to subtract the exponents. So 10 minus 3 is 7. So 1/3 x to the 7th is your answer for number 11. In number 12, again, there is a power to a power on the inside. So I'm going to take 2 to the 3rd power, which is 8. And then I multiply the exponents, a to the 6th, b to the 12th. The bottom should stay the same for now, and then I will use that to simplify. So using our new rule, 8 divided by 4 is 2. 6 minus 3 is 3, and 12 minus 7 is 5. Okay, at this point you'll need the second attachment, so if you want to pause the video till you open the second attachment, this would be the time to do that. And we will move on to the back page looking at numbers 13 and 14. 13 and 14 are set up in a very similar way. So the top of this fraction is already reduced. We have to take care of the parentheses on the bottom before we can do anything further. So 4 to the 2nd power, that is 16. And then I'm going to multiply 1 times 2 to get x to the 2nd, and 1 times 2 to get y to the 2nd. 12 divided by 16, this again is a fraction that can be reduced. They are both divisible by 4, so that would be 3/4. 9 minus 2 is 7, and 4 minus 2 is 2. So this would be your final answer for number 13. Number 14, you have 2 sets of parentheses. So we are going to simplify the top, simplify the bottom, and then divide the 2 expressions once you have simplified. So 2 to the 4th power, if you have a calculator, you could type 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and you should get the number 16. Then multiply your exponents again. 1 times 4 is 4, and 4 times 4 is 16. On the bottom here, 2 squared is 4, and 2 times 2 is 4, along with 3 times 2, which is 6. As you simplify, 16 divided by 4 is 4. Again, subtract the exponents. This would equal 0, so I'm going to cross out the x values, and 16 minus 6 would be y to the 10th. Okay. One final set of questions here. We're going to look at 15 and 16. Do not worry if you have not or do not finish 17 through 20. I'm okay leaving those blank for right now. So in number 15, you have 12x to the 5th and 15x. Now, that entire expression is being squared, so you will square the top and the bottom separately. This would be 144x to the 10th and 225x to the 2nd. Again, using a calculator, this will simplify, and you should get 16 over 25 for the fraction. 10 minus 2 is 8. And last but not least, for number 16, I will keep the top portion and the bottom portion, and I will square both of those pieces of the fraction. So 16 a to the 2nd b to the 4th divided by 25 a to the 2nd b to the 2nd. And as we subtract, this is a fraction that cannot be reduced, but b squared would remain in our final answer. So I know I finished those off rather quickly, but hopefully you have caught on at least to the fact that when we divide, we are subtracting the exponents. Again, you may cross off the bottom portion of the notes from 17 through 20. And after you complete the notes, I would appreciate if you turn them in so I can see that you actually have done the notes here, even though they are not a part of what I am grading. But it's a good way for me to see if you are on track with where we're at in the lessons. Good luck. Let me know if you have questions.